Hi, it's David here from Wargaming, old guys, and we've got another Get Your Paint On. Well, it's more Get Your Base On, really. But anyway, more basing. Hi, now, okay, so I got a supply drop from Moonhopper Games. Thumbs up to Moonhopper Games, thank you very much. And in there, it included some basing materials, and 2 different types of tufts. It included a few other bits like wound markers, dice, Werther's original, and a wash, brown wash, which are all very useful stuff. I mean, wound markers are good for Kings of War. The dice, well, it was a set of dice, so I normally just go for the D6, but this had like the D20s, the D4s, D3s, no D4s, D20s, and all the what I class as non-standard, but more of a D&D thing, from what I understand. So I will use them though, but brilliant, thumbs up for them. There's a wash which I haven't used yet. I need to work out how I'm going to use it. Because I've had a look on, used it on a bit of dark colours, and it doesn't quite do what I want it on dark colours. So I need to do it on light colours and see how that goes. So I might do a video on that at some point in the future. But there's also the basing. Now there's the basing materials, like I said. So this video is to show you what I've done using those materials and a few other bits and bobs I have in my stash. Come up with it's more like a marshy kind of base effect. And like I say, all these material, well, all the major materials are from Moonhopper Games. So big thumbs up to Moonhopper Games. Have a look, see what you think. I think they look pretty good. But anyway, so this is the video. Okay, for this basing video, I'll be using the following paintbrushes. Obviously, some brown paint. I've just got there's some random brown paint there that I got from somewhere. You'll need some glue. So we've got some PVA glue, and I've got some mixed up with water already. So it's PVA and water, just required. Then you need your bases. See, got some bases there. There's a 60mm base. That's 120 by something oval, random Games Workshop size. So then you've got to have your basing materials. So we are using Burrow clumps which is got from Moonhopper Games. It's a terrain pot, and inside you see it's got lots of small grains, and then it's got some what can only be described as Cocoa Pops sized bits of rock, and then followed by some bigger bits floating around in there as well. So yeah, so we're going to have a look at that as we go on. So like I said, Moonhopper Games, go and have a look. And then we've got 2 of their packs of tufts. Now you've got the Weedy scrub, which is kind of like a dead browny yellowy type colour, and then a Pastures green, which is like I said, a bit more luscious green version. So yeah, we're using that. We've got those 2 as well. Then I've also got some flock. Now this isn't the Citadel one. I have just used the pot. The Citadel stuff didn't last very long. It was used up ages ago. So that's I forget what it's called. I think it's a Jarvis, some sort of Jarvis mix. I don't have the packet anymore, which is going to be a pain when I actually get around to redoing it. Now I've lost my applicator for flock, so I'm going to go back to the old-fashioned sieve method of doing it. And then I've got some plastic plants as well. So yeah, so oops, I'm going to be chopping some of these off and putting them in the base as well. So yeah, I've got a whole bag of those. So they're off to the side. So that's what you're going to need. And obviously you need your water and your place to dry your brush and things like that. So let's get on and do it. Oh, one thing I forgot, clay. Some air dry clay. You'll need that. So I use the Das stone. That's from, oh, I think I got it from the works. So anyway, that's that. So let's tidy this up and then we'll start off with the bases. Okay, so what we're going to do today, I've got two bases up there. I've got the 60mm base and the 120mm base. Now I've printed these for a project I'm doing. Now I've already done the clay because it takes a while to dry, air dry. So I've put the clay on. I've roughed the top up a bit so get rid of all the fingerprints and things like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to paint all this brown, and then we're going to apply some Burrow clumps to it in the lower areas after I've dry brushed a little bit of highlight onto the mounds, and we're going to try and create not a swamp, more like a marshy type feel. So you have the higher levels we'll have the flock on and some of the green pastures, and then in the lower areas you'll have the burrow clumps and the weedy scrubs. quite heavily with the weedy scrubs, I think, going around, and there'll be some of the smaller bits in there. I might take out one or two of the bigger bits and put them around because it's a relatively large base. I've actually got a 32mm base with a model on it, so what I might do and then afterwards I might glue it up and just dunk it straight in there, see what it looks like, see how it's gone, and put a few bits of these about to try and make it look good. And like I said, I've got the plastic trees I'm going to put in. So let's go ahead and start with the brown. I'm just going to go over. This might require 2 coats, because not thin coats, just 2 coats. We're just going to paint it all brown as the base layer. This is one of my what I class as a dead brush. It's only good for mass painting. Like I say, don't use your expensive model paints on things like this for the big undercoats. Okay, so what we'll do then, we'll let that dry, and once it's dry, we'll go on to the dry brushing. Okay, we're back. So that's dry. Yeah, it's all nice and dry. So now we're going to do a dry brush of this brown over the top. So burnt sienna. Yep, it's going to do some burnt sienna over the top. I want to do quite a heavy dry brush, otherwise we won't be able to see it. Now if you want to, you can do another one on top of this. It's just to get a little bit of colour. Okay, so that won't take very long to dry, so I'll come back when it's dry and then we'll start putting the basing materials on. Okay, so we're back. I think that's dry enough for me. So what I'm going to do next, now first of all we're going to put the burrowing clumps on. So we've got to glue all that up, all the areas where we want burrowing clumps. Now I am going to get a little tub. Okay, so here we are. That's dry enough. I've got this lid. I'm going to use that, pour it on there. The lid will catch it all. Now a lot of different types of glue will do. Now I have actually got some other glue here as well. Now I've mixed this in with a bit of water, and I'll use it just to loosen this up slightly. Okay, so that is the glue on one. So we'll do this one and then we'll go to the other one. So I was saying that I want some of these big bits. So I'm going to take some of the big bits out. So it was very easy to apply. Nice coverage. Obviously it depends on the glue you use, but that seems to be a nice coverage. And what I'll probably do, I'm going to put some more PVA in this corner area once I've tidied this up. Let's tidy this up. So the excess is now back in the tub. So we've got that. So I wanted to put these on as well. So I might just put some blobs of PVA. Now, what I've found with it's actually soaked up the glue quite nicely. Actually, just that tiny bit of water actually allowed it to. That tiny bit of water allowed it to get soaked up. Come on, there we go. Right. Oops. Now you can glue these on with super glue. There we go. We've got that there. I'm going to put it. Now, originally I was wondering how is it going to be a marshy effect, and you saw a lot of stones and things. I think it's turned out quite nicely, really. So that is the first one. So we'll do the second one, and then what we'll do, like I say, I'm going to use rather a lot of those, but we've got some other things to do on it. So we've got to let that dry first, though. So let's get the second one done. I'm not too fussed about the big bits on this one now. You want to make sure that there is some small mixture of all. So then we've got, you want a mixture of all the different sizes. But as you can see there, you've got lots of relatively large bits. You've got some Cocoa Pop size ones, and you've got lots and lots of fine gravel. Now in this case, there's rather a lot of the medium size ones, but that's okay. That's okay. We can work with that. So then I'll get rid of the excess. So that's the excess gone, and that is the first layer. That is the first layer of the basing. Now we're going to let that dry, and then we're going to come back. Okay, so now we're back. So we've done the bases. I've already gone over them slightly with a brush, just to brush off the excess, and a few bits have come off. So where the few bits have come off, I've just chucked them back in the pot to be reused. I've got let's do it again. Just literally just an ice cream tub. Just to lightly brush over the top to get off the excess that hasn't stuck down properly, because we're going to be dry brushing this slightly, and there's little bits come off, but nothing major. Right, okay, so then we're going to be looking at dry brushing. Now I want to do a bit more I want to do a bit more color variation. So I've got some Vallejo colors here. Now I said I don't normally use craft paint, non-craft paints on bases, but the dry brushing is all right. I was really just talking about the main bulk of the painting. So what we've got here, this is a beastie brown from Vallejo and an earth from Vallejo. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the beastie brown on the actual flock and stones, and the earth on the mounds. So we'll start off with the while I was waiting for that to dry, I actually put some PVA on a model base and dunked it in the pot and see what happens. It seems to have stuck all right. We'll let that dry, and then we'll get on to the other brown for the mounds of earth. Okay, so that's dried enough. So then we're going to look at the earth from Vallejo. Okay, so that's all I want to do with that one. So we're going to let that dry. And what I might do, I'm going to go down and see if I can find, it's probably going to be, find a lighter dry brushing brush, and probably going to put a quick cover of something like soft stone or something along those lines. That'll give a slight highlight to the stones and things, and then after that we'll get on to the flocking. Okay, so I found my stone grey, and I've probably got slightly too much there, way too much actually. And I'm literally just going to go and then I'm going to wait for that to dry, and then we'll continue with the flocking. Okay, so now I had to seal that off with some more PVA. It's got a slight shiny texture to it. I actually like that, so I'm going to keep it. If you didn't want the shiny texture, you need to go over it with a bit of paint. So the next thing I need to do is now we're going to put some flock on the raised areas. So for this, all I've got is some watered down PVA, that's all. Be very liberal with it. You don't necessarily have to go all the way to the edges, I don't think. This is why we painted the mounds brown, just in case the flock doesn't cover it all. Now I've lost my applicator. I don't know where my applicator's gone. So what I'm going to do, I used to do it with a sieve, and I've got my old sieve, and we're going to use this Jarvis. It's like I'm sure it is a Jarvis, but it's a green type thing, a green color, light greeny color. So it only just covers the top, and if you think there's some areas you don't want, just get a dry brush and just brush it off. There you go. What we're going to do that with the other one. I'm not going to do it with the individual person. I think I'm just going to do tufts and things on there. So we'll do it with this one, and then we'll continue. And that is the flocking done. And then we can actually get on using the tufts and any other features. So we'll let that dry, and then we'll continue in a minute. Okay, so we've got these two bases and that guy on a base. Now this is the Pastures green. Pastures green tufts. So these are the Moonhopper game ones. Yep, and that's the Pastures green. And then you've got the Weedy scrubs. So we're going to do a mixture of these. Now, supposedly, you're not meant to put any glue on these. So let's try and put no glue on them. I mean, that does actually, yeah, I mean, gosh, yes, that does actually. I think we're going to end up using a lot of these tufts for the big bases. Maybe not so many for the small bases. I think I'm going to, with the Pastures green, I'm just going to put them around the green areas. And so, what I'm going to do next, so that's the tufts. Now they're all nice and done. Now these are some other bits I have actually collected over my time. Some plastic trees. I know, some plastic bushes. I know some people don't like using the plastic bushes, but this is my first time of doing it. So let me get on and do that, and then we can see what it looks like. First of all, there's the larger base. This is nice coverage from the Burrow clumps, and the two sets of tufts are quite they're quite complementary between the two. The tufts, what I found with the tufts is they're not all uniform, which is good. The bits of material are different lengths. I know some of the other tufts can be very mechanically cut, and so they all look the same length. And these are got a bit more randomness to it, and they're thinner in some places and thicker in others. So they're not all the same. I like the colours. The colours are good, and the adhesives are very good. You don't need any sort of glue at all. You stick it on, it stays. Give it a bit of a press, and just be careful not to stick it to your fingers or the tweezers. I found that they stuck to the tweezers quite a lot. The burrowing clumps itself is it's quite good. It's made up of roughly 3 sizes. You've got the medium, large, and then you've got the small grains. I would mix it up properly before using it. Otherwise, you end up what I did on the 60mm base, and you end up with a lot of the medium sizes, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It just puts a lot of the same material on the base. So, but overall, it's a nice colour. I'd still recommend going over with the dry brush just to give it a bit of highlight. And I would, after you've glued it, I would recommend sealing it. So PVA and put the basic material on. Then once that's dry, I seal it with some PVA and some water, and it just allows a bit more adhesion to the base, and then it stays on perfectly fine. All of those are available from Moonhopper Games. The descriptions in the links are in the description below. That's right. I hope you liked this video and it was very informative. Once again, thumbs up to Moonhopper Games, and if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe, and ding the bell for all future notifications.